What is up, guys? Today we're out here on Saguaro Lake. Been out here since like 10 o'clock this morning. Haven't caught anything. Got to see a fish, even got a bite on the soft bait, but nothing too exciting today. I'm out here with my good buddy Tony Maryland, and we're just trying to grind away, and it just hasn't really been budging that much today. But I did want to take a time and talk about the different trout soft baits that are out there on the market that I personally like to fish every now and then. So normally here in Arizona, we get trout stocked every single season. This season might be different just because they haven't stocked trout yet. I don't know if they even are. There's been rumors that they're not going to stock trout at all this season. The fish that I've been seeing lately, they've been in spots where they're waiting for the trout to get stocked. So they're up shallow, they're around the docks now, they're up along boulders where they stock trout, but there's no trout. So these fish aren't really that fired up. Hopefully they end up stocking trout for us, but if not, hopefully we can still catch some fish throughout the season. But today I just wanted to go over some of the soft baits that I use throughout the trout seasons. So let's get right into the video. Okay, so the first bait that I want to talk about is the one that I've been using for the past couple months or so, and that is this is the ABT. It's the Wagtail. It's the 9.5 inch version, and honestly, I think it's a pretty dope bait. It's a great alternate to like the Batesmith Magnum or even like the Huddleston. I like the size of it. I like the swim of it. The tail's pretty good overall. The only gripe that I have about it is the actual harness system in the bait. It's really long, so it comes all the way back down here, where normally I like to put this stinger a little bit further up, just because I feel like if it's too far back and a fish chokes it, that fish might swallow the hook, and then the fish is going to bleed out. And the way that I have the stinger rigged on here, it's got a paper clip. And if I have the stinger up here, the hook, I can't put the paper clip down just because the harness is kind of in the way. So it ruins the purpose of the bait. The bait doesn't come with the jig hook at all, but it does come with like this slot, so where you can have it Butch Brown rigged or just rigged up here on the head. It does have this hook hanger coming out for the stinger, but I just connect it all the way up to the front. It's just out of habit from fishing the Batesmiths. So this bait's pretty cool. I like the detail. I like the colors that come on the bait. Again, it swims pretty good. It comes through the cover fairly well. It's not too nose heavy. And it offers a lot of good features in a bait that doesn't cost, you know, $90 to $100. I think this bait retails at like $65. I've picked them up for $50 before. So it's a pretty good deal for a soft bait, especially when soft baits nowadays that are good quality are definitely higher priced than what they used to be, I feel like, when they first carried it coming out. So this is the ABT Wagtail. Now, the next soft bait is probably the best well-known trout soft bait in the entire world, and that is the just classic 8-inch Huddleston Deluxe swim bait. Now, the Huddleston has been around since 2005, and by far, I think anybody, not just in the swim bait community, but just in the regular fishing community, they know this bait, they've heard about it. And honestly, I think this soft bait has probably caught the most and the biggest fish on a soft bait of all time, just the regular 8-inch Huddleston. With the Huddlestons, they come in a wide variety of different sink rates from rough 0, 5, 12, and 16. They come with either a jig hook or not a jig hook. There's a lot of different variations of the 8-inch Huddleston. There's even like a weedless version of it. And with that, this bait is world renowned. It gets bit. I'm just not a huge fan of the 8-inch Huddleston. I've caught fish on it before, but it's definitely not my go-to bait. I don't know why, but I just can't seem to get bit on this bait that well. There's better baits out there that I've gotten bit on that I like more, but obviously an 8-inch Huddleston is just a classic swim bait to have when it comes down to when they stock trout. It's a fairly small profile bait. It's only 8 inches long. Nowadays, I like to throw the 9 to like 10-inch soft baits. This little 8-inch is such a cool little bait overall, and it's such a staple in the game. Now, the next one is also a Huddleston, but it isn't as fished as much as the 8-inch, and that is the kind of newer 10-inch Huddleston. Now, this Huddleston, I like the 10-inch way more than I like the 8-inch. I think I just like the profile of it. It's got a bigger tail, so it gives off a greater thump. And overall, I just like how this bait sets up better than the 8-inch Hud. I just have a lot more confidence in the bigger profile when I'm fishing for these bigger grade fish. And it seems like I've gotten way more bites on the 10-inch Huddleston out here on these lakes than I have on the 8-inch Huddleston. It's not a lot of bites, but still I get a lot more confident when I get a couple of bites rather than no bites at all. So me personally, I'd rather pick up the 10-inch Huddleston over the 8-inch Huddleston any day of the week when I'm fishing after those trout eaters. It's a great swimming bait. It's still not that pricey even for a big 10-inch bait like this. I believe they're like $65, which isn't bad. It's a big bait. This is going to be an awesome bait in your arsenal if you like those bigger soft baits. So again, I really like the 10-inch Huddleston Deluxe swim bait. Such an awesome bait. And the bait comes in, I believe, a raw 5, 12, and 16, just like the 8-inch. So again, there's different variations if you want something that sinks slower or something that sinks faster. Personally, when it comes down to the soft baits, I like to have baits that are a little bit lighter. So when I get like a raw 5 Huddleston and I'm fishing in the long rocks, the nose isn't so heavy to where it'll drudge right into the rocks. It'll kind of hit it and then bounce over it because it's light enough. If the bait's too heavy, it won't just bounce over it. It's going to actually wedge itself into the rock. So normally, the lighter the head, the better. So when it comes down to it, all of these baits are like the lighter versions if I can find them. So I believe this is a raw 5 10-inch Huddleston. So the lighter, the better. It does take a little bit longer for the bait to sink out there, but overall, you won't get hung up as much, and you won't have to ruin out the spot going up to it and unsnagging it. So, and the last soft bait that I really like, probably one of the more popular ones kind of in the swim bait community. It's gotten a lot of giant fish ever since its first release, and that is, of course, the Batesmith Magnum. The Batesmith Magnum is such a staple in the game that a lot of people will only fish the Magnum. And honestly, the Magnum is probably the best looking soft swim bait out there on the market. From the paint job to the fins to everything about this bait, it is incredibly lifelike looking and it swims really well. This bait is honestly one of the coolest baits out there on the market. I've had a love-hate relationship with the Magnums throughout the years. I've gotten tons of bites on this bait. I've also dumped tons of fish on it. And it goes back and forth where some seasons I don't get bit on it. And then other seasons I get smashed on it. So I've had a love-hate relationship with the bait. But overall, this is my favorite soft swim bait on the market. It's such a cool bait. I love the profile of it overall. It's fairly narrow, just like a trout is. The paint job on the bait is incredibly good. Now, it's not a perfect bait though. And the one problem, the one flaw that a lot of people do not like about this bait is that it breaks. And what I mean by breaks, I mean all these baits have harnesses in it, which attaches to the jig hook and the line tie. And inside of here, a lot of them have a foam. Now the Batesmith foam is very weak. So what will happen is the bait will literally break in half. The foam inside will break and you will have a broken bait. That is one of the biggest flaws with this bait that a lot of people do not want to spend the money and get one. And I completely agree with them. These baits, they go anywhere from $75 all the way up to $200 just for a soft bait that will most likely break on you eventually. But a lot of people know the risk of them breaking, but them getting bites on this bait will outweigh the bait breaking. And there's multiple ways that you can prevent or even fix it breaking. You can cut this open. I know Mike Gilbert, he shoves like steel rods through the foam, re-glues it all back together, and fishes it that way. You can break it, then cut it open, then re-glue it, throw the rods in, or other different ways to fixing the bait or preventing it from happening. Now, Eric Batesmith, they make a new bait. It's called the Hog Hunter Swim Bait. It's pretty much the new name for the Batesmith Magnum without it being the Batesmith Magnum. But it's pretty much the same exact bait, but apparently it has a new harness system, a new tail design. And so technically this is an OG Magnum, but the new ones I heard swim the same exact way and they're even better. since they don't break. So they're still $95, but a lot of people, they think that it's worth it, and I'm one of those people. It's an awesome bait. I love having it in the collection, and it's just very, very confident heavy when I'm throwing this bait, because I know that this bait has caught a lot of my friends' giant fish, and so why not have the same exact bait in your own arsenal? So that is the Batesmith Magnum, one of my favorites of all time. So those are my thoughts on the swim baits. My buddy Tony, though, he's gonna give his input as well on some of these baits.
For me, the soft bait game, I'm still trying to get the hang of it. I haven't caught not one fish on a soft bait, but I've definitely had some followers on it. But the soft bait that I did have the follower on is the mag. We were fishing Canyon one day, and as usual story as Tony and Jeffrey goes, just messing around, and I finally turned around and caught my eyes on my bait, and there's a big old beast behind it. So just naturally, it's a confidence bait for me, just getting that one follower. Compared to the Huddleston, I like the smaller profile of it. But then with the Huddleston, it's just such a staple that I feel like you just have to have in your either collection or arsenal. Either the 8-inch or the 10-inch, you know, hanging around the king as much as I do, it's like the bigger the better for me. With the 10-inch, I definitely grown a lot more fond of it because the 8-inch just seems so regular. You really don't hear too much about a 10-inch Huddleston bait getting bit. So if I had to choose pretty much between everything that the king's talking about right now, it'd be definitely the mag and the 10-inch Huddleston. I'm sure everything else gets bit, but you know, in the swim bait game, it's all about having that confidence in what you throw. So that's my little take on the swim bait, soft bait game until I actually bring one in. Stay tuned for that, I suppose.
Kind of hope you guys took some information from the video. I know it's nothing too exciting. Still trying to grind it out and catch a fish out here on these difficult lakes here in Arizona. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, go out there and chase your dreams.